reached out and asked if you had read the indictment. You said you read it word for word, page for page, right?
I did. I keep up. I love Jackson.
Even though they've not been in court and they've not been found guilty, it's just an indictment.
They don't see it. My first statement was, think of your family. Think about your family. Put your family first.
I never thought in a million years we would have been put in the situation that we were in. Never. Because we went through our whole career doing the right thing.
It's utterly ridiculous to me. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. I'm Othor Cain. Glad to have you aboard. We've got a lot to get to tonight. But of course, as always, I want to start the broadcast by thanking you for your support. I really do appreciate that, right? It does not go unnoticed and unappreciated because I absolutely appreciate you. I appreciate those that see me out and about. I was in Kroger the other day, and a lady was at work, actually, not working at Kroger, but she, had one of her clients with her, and she was taking her grocery shopping, and she said, "I'll see you tonight. I'm looking forward to your show tonight. I really appreciate all that you do." And I thanked her for that. I am grateful. I don't take that for granted, not by a long shot. So I'm absolutely 100% grateful and thankful for everything that you do. Really appreciate that. It makes an old boy feel good. And for those of you who've given monetarily, thank you. We really, really, really do thank you. Again, our goal next quarter is to be statewide and hopefully figure out how we expand it. So thank you. The Cash App is running across the screen, $ Othor Cain, if you are so inclined and so led to make a donation to us tonight. We would be very grateful. But we began the broadcast tonight. Robert Clark, Mississippi's first Black lawmaker after the Civil Rights era, has died. Clark was 96 years old. Representative Robert Clark. I mean, there's a building downtown Jackson named after him. There are buildings in Lexington named after him. But I just want to share this article that I found on him today. And I just want to share this article with you as we pause to reflect. A giant, right? A giant. I mean, he was at the state capitol when white folk would even speak to him. I'm going to tell you what I really thought about today when I learned that he passed today. Let me tell you what I really, really thought about. All that he endured, it feels as if Trump is trying to take us back to that place. Out of all the gains that this man made, all of the hell he went through, it feels as if Trump is trying to take us back to that place. I mean, this man in the state capitol, and there are 2 seats in the House of Representatives at each one of those desks, right? Nobody would sit next to him. He was the only Black there. Nobody would sit next to him. And, they have this social calendar, right? The white folk ignored him at social events. And all of the gains that he's made, it seems as if Trump is trying to take us back to that era. But let me share this article with you, and I want to give just credit. So this is from the Daily Journal in North Mississippi. Robert G. Clark, who was elected in 1967 as Mississippi's first Black lawmaker of the 20th century and rose to the second highest leadership role in the state House of Representatives. He passed away today at the age of 96, according to his son, Representative Brian Clark. Brian Clark, who succeeded his dad, died of natural causes at his home in Holmes County today. A teacher and descendant of slaves, Clark was ostracized during his first years at the state capitol, relegated to sitting solo at a two-person desk in the House chamber, and ignored by white colleagues at social events. But by the time he left office 36 years later, he had served as chairman of both the House Ethics Committee and the powerful Education Committee. In a state where nearly 40% of residents are Black, he saw more Black candidates win seats as voting rights were enforced and more majority Black districts were drawn, sometimes under court order. Clark also won the respect and support of colleagues, Black and white, who elected him in January of 1992 to House Speaker pro tem, a position he retained until he retired in 2004. He became the second highest ranking Democrat at that Capitol. He was just amazing. Clark was among the 5 activists and elected officials honored in February of 2018 during a black tie optional gala at the newly opened Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. The glitzy event was a lifetime away from Clark's hard, scrabbled early days when most of his relatives worked in cotton fields on family land in Holmes County. As a small child, he would sit by the side of the field with his elderly grandfather, William Clark, who was born a slave and shared vivid memories of deprivation. He had never owned, quote, a pair of pants or shoes until after slavery, Robert Clark told the Associated Press in a 2018 interview. Their feed was poured over them in a trough, just like we feed hogs, and they had to get down and eat the best way that they could. That grandfather's wisdom, he said, helped give him the sense of self to become a leader. He says, quote, I'd throw a hand of corn over and the chickens would be eating. I'd throw another hand of corn over there and the chickens would leave that hand of corn and run to the other hand, Clark said. And I asked him, Grandpa, why them old crazy chickens got corn and just run to the other corn? He said, young man, they're just following the crowd. And he said, that's something I never want you to do. And from feeding the chickens, that became a part of me, he said, not just following a group, not following a crowd. Clark went to Michigan to earn a master's degree in education and then fulfilled a promise he had made to older relatives by returning to the family land in Mississippi. As a teacher and coach, he often went into athletes' homes. He says, quote, I realized many of the parents could not help their children with the lessons. And I went to the superintendent of education to ask him if he would implement an adult education program. And he told me, no, I don't think it's in the best interest of the county to do that. After the all-white local school board denied Clark's request to start the program that would primarily help Black students, he announced his candidacy for that board. Maneuvering to keep a Black man off the board, the local state representative got a change in state law to make that school board appointed rather than elected. Rather than accept defeat, Clark ran against that representative and made history by winning. Because Black people were generally not accepted in the Democratic Party that controlled Mississippi, Clark's family had belonged to what they called the Black and Tan segment of the Republican Party when he was a child. With allegiances flipping in the late 1960s, he ran his first legislative race as an independent. Only later would he run and win as a Democrat. On Inauguration Day in January of 1968, Clark didn't know if he would be allowed to take his oath. The white candidate he defeated had filed a complaint claiming he didn't live in Holmes County, where his family had lived for generations. Clark arrived at the Capitol with his attorney, Miriam Wright, who later founded the Children's Defense Fund, a national advocacy group for the poor. They were standing near a statue of the late Theodore Bilbo, an ARC segregationist who had served as Mississippi governor and United States senator, when they were told about 10 minutes before the ceremony that Clark would be sworn in. The ornate House chamber with marble walls and stained glass windows was filled with two-person oak desks where seatmates swapped gossip and often became fast friends. In January of 1968, in deeply segregated Mississippi, the senior member of Clark's local legislative delegation decreed that Clark would sit by himself. The isolation extended to group dinners for legislators. Nobody would sit with me, Clark said. Sitting alone at tables set for 6 or 8 created a dilemma, he recalled. I very shortly went up to 240 pounds. I didn't intend to gain weight. I just wasn't going to leave all that food on the table. Clark and his first wife, Essie, had 2 sons, Robert G. Clark III and Brian Clark. She died of cancer in 1977, and he raised their sons as a widower, homeschooling them and taking them to the state capitol while the legislature was in session. About 19 years after her death, Clark married Joanne Ross. In 2003, he chose not to seek re-election, and the seat was won by his second son, Brian Clark. Brian Clark also continued to practice law, and Robert G. Clark III, meanwhile, served as a chancery judge in 4 counties. Remembering the late state representative Robert Clark, an amazing man, an amazing career, an amazing impact on humanity, right? Just an awesome guy. Had an opportunity to interact with him a ton of times, and always a gentleman, always consistent, always straightforward. Just simply an amazing guy. Heroic, iconic even, right? Just an absolutely amazing guy. So our thoughts and our prayers are with Brian and Centrell and the entire family at this time. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. Certainly, if there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So we remember the late, great Robert G. Clark tonight. All right, so now we'll turn our attention to the elections, right? April 1st. We're less than a month away. We're less than a month away, and we're going to have the primaries for mayor, for city council. We are less than a month away. Our producer tonight had an opportunity to go over to Jackson State and witness the forum that was held. I think JSU TV, did the forum. Jackson State University hosted the forum. I think it was also broadcast on WJTV, Channel 12. It's good that they were able to get a local station to do it because of their signal. Byron Brown from WJTV served as the host, the moderator. And so I got to go back and watch it because I didn't see it, but our producer was there. She brought some clips back. She brought clips back from everybody, but I only want to show my top 5 and my sleeper. And we've not got the picture up of our sleeper. So I want to start with our sleeper. If you can find a clip that showcases Mr. DePriest.
I would like collaboration is absolutely required, but I also recognize that a mayor is not going to dictate and force collaboration. And I appreciate with Chief Wade's coming up on his interim appointment in June a couple of years ago, and the collaboration that he has built, and having sat in those meetings and watched what seemed to be a somewhat cold relationship with other agencies when he started out, and now the team approach that's there. So I feel like largely our elected officials need to be sure the resources are there, but then we need to just encourage the cooperation and know that trust takes time. There are a limited number of offenders in our city that are genuinely causing violence. And we need to recognize that with the collaboration between these groups, we're going to know who they are, and we're going to be able to deal with it effectively. Thank you.
All right, that was Mr. Dupree. Dupriest, he's my sleeper. I'm beginning to like his style, right, and like his conversation. All right, let's go to the current incumbent, Chokwe Othor Lumumba.
So first and foremost, we don't have a problem with working with any sincere actors that want to work towards the safety of our residents. The true question is one of accountability, and whether those who are charged with policing our community are going to be accountable when instances take place. At the end of the day, people don't want to feel policed. They want to feel protected, and that is what is key for us. Now, I do want to go back to your prior question because I find it awfully interesting that we have so many people who are interested in, alternative to incarceration. Programs that deal with, community-oriented crime reduction. But the reality is we hadn't seen people working with us when we worked with our Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. The reality is when I took a stand and said, listen, open carry is harmful to our community, because I've had young women or ladies in Washington Edition calling me about men carrying automatic weapons. And when I took that stand, no one took that stand with me. So we can talk about what crime looks like in this community, but don't come with your plan today. Tell me what you've been doing up until this point in time.
Thank you, man. And I gotta say that I agree with Mayor Lumumba, and that's the question that I'm gonna put to any candidate that comes on this show. What have you been doing for the city of Jackson prior to running for mayor? What have you done? Right, where have you been? What have you done? All right, let's go now to former Hinds County Supervisor David Archie.
The elephant in the room is crime. But if you have a plan, the number one thing is that you got to know how to pay for it. And this candidate, David L. Archie, I have a plan and I know how to pay for it. This pen that I'm wearing tonight proves it. It says that I'm excellent in government. And when we decide to put together and implement a plan, you've got to move forward on how you're going to finance that plan. I've already told you that we have a budget for more officers to come into the Jackson Police Department. We would use that budget to bring in part-time officers to get inside of the community, patrol that community, stabilize that community, and the regular patrol officers will continue to patrol the community as well as their beat. But we want officers in the community that never leave the community until we have crime under control. What we need is law enforcement equipment where we don't have to pay for it. You must know how to pay for it.
All right, having a budget is very important, and clearly I wasn't there, so I don't know follow-up questions or anything like that. But I would have put him to the test. What's your budget? Show it to me. Let's talk about implementation. But it's kind of hard to get into all of that. And you got 14 people on the stage. Let's go now to State Senator John Horn.
And we need to make sure that everyone is tied into the real crime topic, the real time crime center, so that you're getting the information in a timely fashion. I think that there needs to be everybody on the same communication system. Right now it's fragmented. It does not get the job done. The 911 system is fragmented. It's not getting the job done. And we need to have regular communications with all of the policing organizations that exist within the city of Jackson, from the standpoint of the federal government, the county government, city government, as well as state government.
I've often wondered about that real-time crime center and how effective it is as well. I think that's something that we probably should explore. So I like that point from Senator John Horn. And finally, let's go to Socrates Garrett.
That we know that we can make crime move anytime we get ready, but we got to have a balanced approach to it. And so I want to work with JSU, all of the law enforcement agencies, and I want to focus on getting drugs out of our community. and then deal with this high unemployment that's causing folk to commit this crime. You know, when a young man or woman's number one asset is their pit bull or their rims, that creates a problem, and we got to deal with this cause, and we can focus on eliminating drugs, getting the guns of our community, and light this area up around Jackson State University. Bring in businesses where we can walk in the street the same way they do in other cities and shop in the area, and we'll make crime go away through a collaborative effort between the three partners. Thank you.
You know, I absolutely do think crime fighting, you have to do it from a collaboration vantage point, right? If you want to attract businesses, you've got to be business friendly. I think that you have to have a coordinated effort to fight crime. So thank you very much, Socrates. And I said finally before, but now finally, Marcus Wallace.
Is get interlocal agreements signed with all levels of government, giving every law enforcement agency jurisdiction over the entire city. I don't care if it's the park ranger. If you hear a crime being committed and it comes out on the radio, whoever with blue lights, I want them to respond. But we also have to do is we have to keep the morale up of our JPD officers. All the officers in the agencies in the city should be making about the same salaries. When I was in Edwards, you know, officers always talked about, and then the last thing, let me say this before my time is up, we must get the judicial system on board as well. These officers, in order to keep morale up, you know, you gotta get the judges where they gotta put stiff penalties and fines on these people when we catch them, because officers, you know, they tired of, you know, running in the woods, getting, you know, people and everything.
All right, Marcus, thank you very much. I do think I think crime in Jackson and crime in Hinds County needs to be addressed holistically. Right now, I think there are so many agencies and entities working in silos, and so I agree with you. I think that there needs to be a coordinated effort, and I think that judicial system, which is part of the problem, the judges. I do think that we need to hone in there and tighten that up. You know, people say all the time, whether there's any merit to it or validity to it or not, people say all the time, just cross that line into Jackson, you can get a bond for anything. So those were some good answers and good responses from my top five and my sleeper. We got to add my sleeper there. But those were some good answers. So let's get into a real conversation now about these candidates. Let's get into a real conversation about these candidates. I didn't watch the forum tonight. I knew I wasn't going to watch it. I, was on a couple of calls during the forum, but even if I was free, there was nothing about that forum that would have attracted me. It's just too many people. And I do believe that, voters need to hear from all of them. But I just think that, I do believe voters need to hear from all of them, absolutely. But I think that voters have to bear some responsibility of figuring out how they're going to hear from all of them. I think in a forum like that, I'm reminded of Charles Evers. When you're in charge, act like you're in charge, right? When you're in charge, act like you're in charge. Just too many people. Too many people to have a real in-depth conversation. And everybody being given only a minute to respond is too much. It's absolutely, hey, that's not enough time. Just too many people, just too much. So as we drill down, let's drill down. And I'm going to let you guys lead this. So I'm sure the viewership will be higher after this, so we don't have a whole lot of live listeners tonight or viewers tonight. But the numbers always are awesome and magnificent after the fact. But those of you that are here tonight, and those of you that will join us later, let's do this. Let's do this. Barbara said, I hope Mr. Bill drops out listening to him speak. I think he's a little too old. Interesting. I don't even know who he is, honestly. Let's do this though. Let's do this. Let's take my top 5. Let's just start with the incumbent. Let's start with Chokwe and Othor Lumumba. Let's start with Mayor Lumumba. Let's just start with Mayor Lumumba. Those of you that would, those of you that are here, name one positive about Mayor Lumumba. Name one positive. Name one positive. And then we'll let you name one negative. Just name one positive. Let's do this little exercise. Because I think we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to know who we're supporting and why we are supporting them. So if you would, name a positive for Mayor Chokwe and Othor Lumumba, and name one negative. One positive and one negative. Name one positive and one negative. Even if you're not supporting him this time around, name one positive and one negative. Name one positive and one negative. All right? And so I'll start then. Nobody's typing in the chat box. I'll start. I think Mayor Lumumba has done an awesome job of naming school board members to the Jackson Public School Board of Trustees. I think he has done an awesome job. I think those school board members are dedicated. I think those school board members love the Jackson Public School District. I think that they govern as if the Jackson Public Schools is a priority. And so I think he's done a great job of naming school board members. Tamar, you crazy, man. You're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. But honestly, that's my positive. I think he has done an amazing job of naming school board members, and we don't give him enough credit for that. You know, our school district is absolutely improving, right? We have improved our letter grade. No more charter schools can come into our district because we're back at a strong C, and we would have been a B had they not had that recent infraction a year or so ago. Barbara also says helping stabilize Jackson Public Schools, helping stabilize Jackson Public Schools. So that's my positive. My negative for Mayor Lumumba, I honestly think that the trash situation was a failure. I think the way that was handled, I think the way that was handled, I think it was wrong, you know, and I think both sides played into that, but I absolutely think not getting our garbage picked up for 2 weeks or so, I thought that was a dismal failure. J-Bar says transparency is a negative for him. I can see that, absolutely. I can absolutely see that. I can see that. All right, how about State Senator John Horn? Name a positive and name a negative. Name a positive and name a negative for State Senator John Horn. Name a positive and name a negative. All right, so I will go. So my positive for Senator John Horn is that Barbara, I don't know what that means. his first go around with JPD. Not sure what that means. So you got to help me out with that. So my positive for State Senator John Horhn would be his length of service at the state capitol. 32 years, that's a long time. His length of service at the state capitol, that would be my positive for John Horhn. His length of service at the state capitol. That would be my positive. That's a long time. And to get elected repeatedly, that's good. So and my negative for State Senator John Horhn would probably be I would say the same thing. I could break that down, because there are other ones, but we're just naming one. But I would say that my negative would be just the exact same as my positive. My negative would be that he's been there 32 years, and I don't think the city of Jackson has felt the impact of him being there. Right? I don't think Jackson has felt the impact of him being there. All right. I'm assuming J-Bar, you got to tell me who you're talking about. You're saying governmental experience, positive relatability is a huge negative. Help me with that one. So y'all make sure you put the person's name you're talking about, right? Governmental experience, positive relatability is a huge negative. I would assume that's for Horhn, right? It's not assumption correct. I would assume that's for Horhn because that actually sums up my positive and negative, right? You're saying governmental experience, positive, relatability is a huge negative. Horhn, right? Okay, all right, good deal. Yep, I'm with you. I think you and I are on the absolute same page with Horhn. Governmental experience, positive. Relatability is a huge negative. I absolutely agree with you. So, Barbara, I'm lost with yours, though. His pick for police chief before Wade. But what do you say? I don't know what you're saying. Are you saying that's a negative for Lumumba? Help me out there. His pick for police chief before Wade, which was James Davis, right? Are you saying that's a negative for the mayor? So y'all got to tell me who you're talking about in your comment. Bill says state relationships. I'm assuming that's Horhn you're talking about, Bill Evans. You said state relationships, and I'm assuming that's a positive for Horhn. So y'all got to help me. With your comments. Roger says lack of communication about what he has accomplished or helped to accomplish in the legislature. So I know that is for Horhn, and I'm assuming that's your negative for him. So y'all kind of help me out. Roger, I'm assuming that's your negative for John Horhn. A lack of communication about what he has accomplished or helped to accomplish in the legislature. Yeah, and I think that's where I am. I think that we're on the same page there. And I think a lot of people are there. You tout you've been there 32 years, but what has been the impact for Jackson? Right? What has been the impact for Jackson? All right, so let's move. Yes, that was a negative for the current mayor. All right, thank you, Barbara. All right, let's move. Make sure you put the people in your comments. So let's move to Marcus Wallace. Let's move to Marcus Wallace. One positive and one negative. One positive and one negative. Marcus Wallace. One positive for Marcus and one negative for Marcus. What are your thoughts there? One positive and one negative for Wallace. And for me, let's see, one positive for Marcus. I think that Marcus is very committed to Jackson, and he has shown that through the years, right? I think Marcus is very committed to the city of Jackson. He has shown that through the years. I have witnessed him helping young people. You know, I have a big passion for young people, so I've witnessed him helping young people buy uniforms, you know, providing transportation. So I've witnessed him doing that. So I would say that he's connected to the community. And he's on the ground with people in the community. That would be my positive for Marcus Wallace. That would be my positive for Marcus Wallace. And he knows Jackson. He's committed to Jackson, and there is evidence of his work. So he's committed to the city. He already has boots on the ground in the city. And so my negative for Marcus, one of my negatives for Marcus would be, I'm gonna come right back to you, Barney. One of my negatives for Wallace would be, as a business owner, right? As a business owner, right? How have you connected your business to the growth of Jackson, right? How have you connected your business to the growth of Jackson? You know, and so my negative would be, you've benefited, but tell me about your larger efforts in terms of connecting your business to the city. So that would be my one negative about Marcus Wallace. While y'all are thinking about, we're going to put your comment up in a second. Let me go on and address Mr. Barney here. I heard you throw them shots at Trump earlier. Well-deserved shots, my brother. Well-deserved shots. Trump is trying to take us back. Trump is trying to take us back. That article that I read from, brother, that article that I read from about State Representative Robert Clark, Trump is trying to take us back to that era. He is, man. And I wouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt of watching the State of the Union tonight. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yeah, man, I'm gonna punch Trump every chance that I get. I'm gonna punch him. He's destructive. He's divisive. He's no good for us, man. All right, Barbara has a positive. Barbara says positive for Marcus. Past experience as mayor. That's a great positive. I should have said that. Positive, past experience as a mayor, seeing him jump in and help in Jackson. That's a great positive for him. And Barbara says, I don't have a negative at this time. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. And Barney, I'm going to assume that's a good fella. I'm going to assume that comment is for Marcus Wallace, because it can't be for Trump. I mean, I know you're a Trumpster, you know, and I know you have your reasons for being a Trumpster. Come on, bro. You light skinned, but you ain't that light. Come on, man. Come on, man. All right. Come on. Anybody else? Positive, negative for Marcus before we move? And you can always come back, watch the video later, and add your comment. Come on, man. You light skinned, but come on, you ain't that light. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. All right, then. So, David Archie. David Archie. Positive and a negative about David Archie. Positive and a negative. Barney says, we all know Lumumba gonna win. Man, time will tell. Time will tell, bro. Time will tell. All right. One positive, one negative about David Archie. And I'll go. All right. A positive and a negative about David Archie. Let me tell you what I know for sure. Let me tell you what I know for sure. And like John, David's positive and negative for me are all wrapped in, they're intertwined, right? David's positive and his negative for me, they're intertwined. They're all together. It's together. It's one and the same, right? They're intertwined. So David's positive and negative for me is, tell you what I know for sure. I know for sure, let's say I support all felons. I can't stand you, man. This is why I can't pause. This is why I can't read your stuff. Because you throw me all the way off. You support all felons. Well, yeah, and and your support for the biggest one is in the presidency. So I get it. Equal opportunity feloner, I guess. But positive and negative for David. For me, they're intertwined. Here's what I know for sure. When David was a member of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors, I saw firsthand the work he did in District 2. David really worked for District 2. Did an awesome job, right? Did an awesome job. David really worked in District 2. That's his positive. But the negative is nobody could see the work. Nobody could hear the work because of all of his antics and all of his theatrics, right? He did the work. And unfortunately, we don't vote for work alone because David did the work in District 2. He did. Unfortunately, we don't vote for work alone. So nobody could hear about the work and nobody could see the work because all they saw was all that other stuff, right? They saw all that other stuff, man. That's all they saw. That's all they saw. And folk couldn't get past that. They couldn't get past those antics. And I don't blame them. I understand. They couldn't get past it. Let's go to Jamar about Archie. Jamar says, Archie lacks diplomacy. His antics with the Board of Supervisors were disgraceful, even if he was passionate about his views. That's fair. That's very fair, brother. That's very fair. That's very, 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 very fair. That's very fair. That's very fair. Jamar says Archie's positive was he did show up and work. And he did work. He did the work. People just couldn't see it and people couldn't hear it because of his lack of diplomacy. That's it. That's it. We're right there. Martin says he worked on tearing the room. He worked on tearing the room up. And that's what people saw. That's all. They couldn't get past that. That's what they saw. That's what they saw. That's what they saw. And I am telling you, he did the work. He worked in District 2. There's no lie about it. It's on record. You can see it on record. And you can really see it now that he's not there, right? But when he was in the middle of that, you couldn't hear it and you couldn't see it because of all of that other stuff, because of all of those other antics. But he absolutely did the work. All right, Socrates Garrett is our last one. Well, I think we'll do our sleeper if you guys got some comments on our sleeper. But let's do Socrates Garrett. Positive and negative. Positive and negative. One positive, one negative about Socrates Garrett. Jamar, another positive, his podium of truth he carried around. He told the truth. I'm telling you. And you know what? That'll be two positives, but I want to say it anyway. I want to say it so that y'all can kind of understand where I'm going with this. Honestly, David was a well-read supervisor. Now, there are some on the board now that don't read that much, right? But David was a well-read supervisor. Maybe sometimes his interpretation of what he read was a little off, but David was a well-read supervisor. Roger, Positive, highlighting the community through the Mississippi link. I'm assuming that for Socrates. Positive, highlighting the community through the Mississippi link. Yeah, Socrates used to own the Mississippi link many years ago. It's under new ownership now, and having that tool was great then. It's great now to really highlight the good things that are happening in Jackson and across the state. So the Mississippi link is a very good tool there. So one positive, one negative about Socrates Garrett. Let's see here. So I think I would say a positive about Socrates Garrett is that he's been a very, very, very successful business person, and as such, he's put a lot of Jacksonians to work. So that would be my positive for Socrates. He's been a incredibly successful business person, and as such, he's put a lot of Jacksonians to work. So that would be my positive for him. My negative for Socrates would be, let's see, my negative for Socrates. And hear me well, my negative for Socrates will probably be the appearance of wrongdoing. And I'll explain, right? So that would be my negative, the appearance of wrongdoing. I remember there was a time when Socrates did not have the favor of the administration, right? He didn't have the favor of the administration. He had favor for sure when Harvey Johnson was mayor, and I think he had favor with other mayors too. I'm not discounting them, but I just can grab Harvey's name and hold on to it because he had extreme favor when Harvey was in office. And so I say the appearance of wrong. And so when he didn't have the favor of the administration, you would see him out front and advocating. And there were questions like, why is he there, right? What has he done wrong that he is out front? And so that appearance of wrong, you look at some of the business practices like, the retro metro piece, you look at that as a failed business, if you would. And so the appearance of wrong, whether he was right or wrong, whether there was any wrong at all, it's the appearance. And I think that's a hurdle that he will have to overcome in some circles during this election process. So that would be my positive and my negative for Socrates Garrett. That would be my positive and my negative for Socrates. And as far as my sleeper candidate, is it Rodney DePriest? I can't even remember his first name now. I don't have it written in front of me. But Mr. DePriest is my sleeper candidate. And because I don't know him, he remains a sleeper for me. I don't know him. And because he remains a sleeper, I don't have a positive and I don't have a negative about him. I don't have a positive or negative about it because I don't know him. I want to get to know him. So if y'all see the man out there, tell him to holler at your boy. Right? Y'all see him out there, tell him to holler at your boy. Right? Well, we're looking forward. Hopefully on Thursday, we're going to begin our series of interviewing my top 5 and my sleepers. So I don't even know how to get Mr. Dupree. So if y'all see him, come to holler at your boy. All right. But Thursday, hopefully, we'll have Socrates Garrett. He'll kick off our series, talking to what I consider the top 5. So we'll have him on. All right. All right, guys. And feel free to post your comments, when we're off, when we're not live, because I think it's important that we understand I think it's important that we understand who we're voting for. Barbara says, for the sleeper grew up in Jackson. That's a positive. That's a great point. That's a great point. And he grew up on Ellis Avenue in that area. So that's a good point. Good deal, Barbara. Thank you. That's a great point. That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. But for me, because I don't know him, I didn't, share anything. But that's good, Barbara. That's very good. That's very, 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 very good. I like that. All right. I do think it's important. This election is very serious, y'all. This election is very, very serious. And do I think like some folk are promoting it? Is it dire? Is it so critical that if we mess up our vote, Jackson's just gonna fall apart? If we don't vote for the right person, or if we vote for this person, all of our issues will go away, will somehow magically disappear. Don't believe that for a second. Do I believe that if we don't vote for this person, then we're going to go further downhill? I don't believe that, not for 1 second. Nor do I believe we should be guided by endorsements. Nor do I believe that we should be guided by the money that the Northeast Jackson Republicans are putting behind candidates. Just don't subscribe to that, my friend. I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't subscribe to that at all, right? So first of all, Mr. Sarcastic, Biden was never asleep at a press conference, but yeah, that's not the example I was using. Sleeper meaning no one knows him, and that he might do better than folk are expecting him to do. That's Mr. DuPriest, and that's why he's my sleeper candidate. But I'll take old Sleepy Joe any day than this toupee wearing, broke back orange clown that we have in office now. I'll take Sleepy Joe over him any day, any day, any day. All right. Hey, listen, but we end tonight the exact same way we started. So I was in New Orleans this past weekend. I actually got stuck there and had to spend an extra day. But if there's ever a city that you want to be stuck in, it's New Orleans, because I had a blast. I was stuck there on Sunday, so I had a blast staying there on Sunday. I ended up going to the Bacchus brunch and the Bacchus parade, and that was not on my list to do at all. But I had a ball. I absolutely had a ball. So if there's a city to be stranded in, stuck in, New Orleans is that city. So I had a blast on Sunday, the day that I was stuck. And Edward gave me this, and I thank you. So I missed my train on Sunday coming back, but I caught a good flight of those mimosas at Ruby Slipper. So he gave me that. Missed my train, but I caught a flight of mimosas. So it worked out perfectly. But sadly, it was in New Orleans on Saturday. I was at Luke's. I hate Barney. I'm in New Orleans now, and I still smell that Tom Ford. I did not shop on Friday, man. But have fun, man. Next year we're playing better. I'm going to extend my stay till Wednesday next year, because it was great. I haven't been to Mardi Gras in years, but going this past weekend brought all those old memories back to me. So I'm gonna put it back in my regular rotation. But I got to get out of here. But we end tonight the same way we began. It was Saturday while I was having brunch at Luke's that I was made aware of the untimely passing of soul singer Angie Stone. And my heart just dropped. She died at 63 years old. She died in a car accident, and I was just absolutely heartbroken. I knew she sang the theme song for Girlfriends, but I had absolutely forgotten that she sang the theme song for girlfriends, and I played that over and over and over and over again when I was reminded of that. And I've been watching all of these clips, and I've been watching all of the connections that she had. Incredibly gifted, incredibly gifted, incredibly gifted. And so our thoughts and our prayers are with her son and her entire family. I think she had a son by D'Angelo, right? I think she had a son by D'Angelo. You know, folk try to criticize her because she spoke out about owning her music and wanting her royalties and not letting anybody take advantage of her publishing rights. You have to stand up for yourself, man. You do. You have to stand up. You're not a fight in these streets. So I admire her. Yep. So that was, and so our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts are with Angie's family and her friends and all those that knew and loved her. Feel free to donate. Barney, I'll answer your question. What officer got sentenced today, or is that false? No. Former Jackson police officer Torrance Mayfield was sentenced today. I think he got 24 months. I briefly had an exchange with him today. Look, Barney, you're there in New Orleans. Bring me some Tom Ford back. How about that? How about that, bro? Bring me some Tom Ford back. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that Torrance Mayfield situation. We're gonna talk about the Marshawn Chrysler because he is appealing his sentence. And I didn't read the article, but I did see a headline come up earlier today that lawyers for Lumumba, Owens, and Banks are expected back in court this week. So I need to check that out. So we're going to talk about that, though. We'll get a show dedicated to that coming up in the next week or so. All right. Listen, thank y'all for being here. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to donate. Cash App is $ Othor Cain. And finally, my last plea, my absolute last plea. And Barney, I want you a part of this. I'm sending this to you tonight. My last plea. Y'all, we gotta support. And God darn it, I should have pulled that video, but we'll play that video Thursday. We'll start the show. Remind me to start the show with Sax to Suits on Thursday. But Sax to Suits, it's coming up on June 14th. June 14th, Saturday, June 14th. We will be at the old Capitol Inn on State Street. I need your support. I need your support. We talk a lot of game. Now it's time to put our money where our mouth is. I need your support. We need to get 100 boys in suits. And Barney, I need you a part of this initiative. You and Fox, all right? I need your support. You can scan that QR code. Please help us. Please support. I need 100 men to help me get 100 boys in suits on Saturday, June 14th. We'll have a couple of auxiliary events before the end, but that will be the culminating event. All right. I need your support. We are the supermen and women that we are looking for and that our community needs. Need your help with that. We gossip when they're in trouble. We call, we tell, we talk. But now we can help. We can do, we can lead, we can serve. All right? That's all I got. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Thank you for your support.
So my father said, Sister Annie, here this boy is. She said, boy, when you go to school and finish, we want you to come back home and take care of the family property. Oh, no, not me. You know, I don't like the country. You know, I can't stand the filth. I put up a strong argument, but my father and my aunt never said a word. So finally, when I had to argue all I could, I said, I don't want to, but if y'all want me to, I will. And she said, we do. And that's how I wound up coming back home and being on this place where, as I said earlier, my great-grandparents were slaves right on this plantation. This is the plantation where they were slaves.